John Ternus is 50 years old, a quiet mechanical engineer who has spent nearly his entire adult life inside one company, never really asking for the spotlight, and yet somehow, on April 20th, 2026, the spotlight found him in the biggest way possible. Apple named him their next CEO. And whether you realize it or not, you have almost certainly already held his work in your hands. He is not a flashy Silicon Valley celebrity with a TED Talk and a Twitter ego. He is a builder, someone who understands what happens at the component level, who can walk into a room of engineers and actually push back on what they're building because he genuinely understands what they're building. That combination in a CEO is rarer than people think. And it turns out it might be exactly what Apple needs right now. Who is John Ternus? Ternus grew up to earn a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Pennsylvania in 1997, and after graduating, his very first job was building virtual reality headsets at a startup called Virtual Research Systems. VR headsets in 1997, before most people had even heard the term. The irony of that lands differently once you remember that Apple's Vision Pro now sits inside his product portfolio. He joined Apple in 2001, meaning he has spent more than half of his entire life inside one company. That is not a resume line. That is a commitment. He started on the product design team, working first on something as unglamorous as the Apple Cinema display, a monitor, before quietly moving through nearly every product category Apple has ever touched. In 2013, he became vice president of hardware engineering. In 2021, he was elevated to senior vice president, which put him directly in charge of the hardware teams responsible for roughly 80% of Apple's revenue, covering the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac, the Apple Watch, the AirPods, and the Vision Pro. He will become Apple's 8th CEO on September 1st, 2026. Here's the thing about Ternus that most people outside the tech world simply do not know. He did not just oversee Apple's hardware from a glass office on the executive floor. He was in the room where these things were actually built, shaped, argued over, and refined across decades. He worked on every single generation of the iPod. Everyone. He was deeply involved in the creation of Apple Silicon, the custom chip architecture that moved Apple away from Intel and is now the reason your MacBook gets 18 hours of battery life and runs cooler than almost anything else on the market. He pushed for LiDAR being added to the iPhone Pro line, which at the time felt like a niche choice for photographers and AR enthusiasts, but turned out to matter enormously for the future of spatial computing. He was the person advocating for iPad OS to exist as a separate operating system, specifically because he understood the hardware was already powerful enough to deserve its own software identity. He championed Apple Pencil's magnetic charging, a detail so small that most people never consciously notice it, but the kind of detail that defines whether a product feels genuinely premium or just expensive. And earlier in 2026, just months before the CEO announcement, he quietly took over as executive sponsor of Apple's design team. Not just hardware design, but software design too. So by the time this transition was made public, Ternus was not simply the hardware chief waiting for a promotion. He was already, functionally, shaping the entire product direction of the company. People who have worked alongside him describe him as deeply decisive, intensely focused, and genuinely present in the process. His first boss at Apple, Steve Seifert, once shared a story that says a lot about who this person is. When Ternus was promoted early in his career and given the option to move into a private office, he declined. He stayed in the open space with his team. That is not a strategic career move. That is just who he is. Tim Cook enters the story. Now here's where you have to understand something important about why this moment even exists. Because the story of John Ternus becoming CEO is impossible to tell without first telling you what Tim Cook built, and why stepping away from it required the kind of quiet confidence that very few people ever manage to find. Tim Cook became Apple's CEO in 2011, taking over from Steve Jobs, which is arguably one of the most impossible jobs in business history. You are are following a founder. You are following a person who is widely considered a once-in-a-generation product visionary. You are walking into a company where the culture, the identity, and the entire emotional center of gravity belongs to someone who is no longer there. Most people in that situation either try too hard to imitate their predecessor or swing so far in the opposite direction that they lose the thread entirely. Cook did neither. He figured out who he actually was and built Apple around those strengths. When Cook took the CEO chair, Apple was a $350 billion company. Today it sits at $4 trillion. He expanded the services ecosystem, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, the App Store, Apple Pay, into a revenue engine so deeply embedded in people's daily lives that Apple has become genuinely difficult to leave once you are inside it. That walled garden concept, where every Apple product works better alongside another Apple product, was deliberately deepened under his watch. It is a big part of why iPhone users show a 96.4% brand loyalty rate in brand new research. Most consumer brands would hand over their entire marketing budget just to get close to that number. Cook is not disappearing from Apple. He is transitioning into the role of executive chairman, where he will focus on working with global lawmakers and policymakers, navigating the regulatory environments, tax structures, and geopolitical relationships that come with running the world's most valuable technology company. He is a master of supply chain and global operations, and that expertise does not evaporate simply because he stepped out of the CEO role. Apple has structured this transition so that Cook's strengths remain available to Ternus during the years when they will matter most. There is also something worth saying plainly about Cook's character during his tenure that often gets overlooked in the quarterly earnings conversation. He held firm on user privacy during a genuinely difficult standoff with the United States government. He spoke openly about personal values at a time in public life when doing so carried real professional risk. That is part of the legacy too, and it deserves to be said. Now here's the tension that every technology analyst, every investor, and honestly most Apple users are sitting with right now. Can a hardware engineer lead Apple through the AI era? The critique is familiar. While Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI were shipping chatbots and rewriting the rules of how people interact with software entirely, Apple was still refining the same Siri that had been the subject of jokes for nearly a decade. Apple's AI hesitation as proof that something is fundamentally broken in the company's ability to move with the times. But the counter-argument is actually the more interesting one, and it belongs specifically to John Ternus. He and his close collaborator, Johny Srouji, now elevated to Apple's new chief hardware officer, are the two people most responsible for Apple Silicon. And Apple Silicon is not simply a faster chip. It is the architecture that makes it possible for Apple to run AI models locally on your device without sending your data to a server farm in a warehouse somewhere. That distinction is going to matter more and more as the next decade of technology unfolds, because privacy is becoming one of the central battlegrounds of the entire industry, and Apple is the only company of its size that is structurally positioned to make private by default AI a real product promise rather than a marketing claim. One analyst framed the broader picture well. As long as Apple controls distribution through hardware, they can partner with whoever happens to have the best AI talent at any given moment. Whether that turns out to be Gemini, Anthropic, or OpenAI, Apple still holds the device in the consumer's hand. The leverage does not disappear simply because they were not first to ship a chatbot. Ternus himself, in a 2023 CNBC interview, was asked directly whether Apple was falling behind on AI. He said he was not too worried, not defensive, not dismissive, just quietly confident. That is either the mindset of someone who knows something the outside world does not yet see, or someone dangerously comfortable with complacency. Given his 25-year track record of actually delivering the products he is responsible for, it is probably worth giving him the benefit of the doubt. What people are actually saying. The public reaction to this announcement has been fascinating to watch because it works almost like a mirror for how people genuinely feel about Apple as a company right now. There is one school of thought that says Tim Cook played it safe, that he was a logistics genius who protected and massively scaled what Steve Jobs built, but never took the kind of swings that Jobs took with the iPod, the iPhone, or the original Mac. The hope that comes with a builder like Ternus taking over is that Apple might start inventing making things that surprise people again, rather than refining things that already exist. One person online put it this way: Tim Cook had to prove he could run Apple. Now it is Ternus's turn to prove Apple can still invent the future instead of just selling it. That is a genuinely fair challenge to put on the new CEO's desk from day one. But there is also a more grounded take, which is that Apple's products right now are extraordinarily good in ways that often do not get the credit they deserve. The iPhone 17 Air is the thinnest iPhone ever made at 5.6 millimeters. And to get there, Ternus's team had to create the most densely packed main logic board in iPhone history, redesign the entire antenna architecture, and integrate cellular silicon that Apple now manufactures in-house. The AirPods Pro 3 were developed using real geometric scan data from thousands of human ears, and they combine a foam-infused silicone ear tip with improved active noise cancellation algorithms in a way that delivers noticeably better fit coverage than anything they had made before. These are not the products of a company that stopped caring about craft. These are products built by an organization that is very deliberately choosing where it spends its obsessive attention. There is also a segment of the conversation that is simply excited because Ternus is an engineer. The idea that Apple's next chapter gets led by someone who understands the product from the silicon level upward rather than from the spreadsheet level downward gives a certain kind of Apple fan genuine optimism about what the next decade of hardware could look like. Product roadmaps at Apple are laid out years in advance, so nothing dramatic is going to happen the moment Ternus sits down in the CEO chair. But in the medium term, there are several bets worth watching very closely. The AI wearables play is real. Apple has been reported to be working on smart glasses, health-focused AirPods with camera integration, and a necklace-style wearable, all built around a more capable version of Siri. These are products that would genuinely expand what Apple is, not just improve what Apple already makes. If they land, they are the kind of category-defining moment that the company has not had since AirPods changed how an entire generation thinks about wireless audio. The smart home is another area where Ternus has been deeply involved. The new smart display, a range of home sensors, and a tabletop robot device with a screen and camera have all been in development, and they represent Apple's most serious attempt yet to own the physical space of people's homes, the way they already own the space in people's pockets and on their wrists. If that ecosystem clicks the way AirPods clicked, quietly and then all at once, it could be the next category people look back at and say Apple was the one who made it feel inevitable. And then there is the folding iPhone, which has been in development longer than most people realize, and which would represent the most fundamental rethinking of the iPhone form factor since the original device launched in 2007. He has been preparing for this role, whether anyone called it that or not, for a very long time. John Ternus spent 25 years building the products that billions of people use every single day without ever knowing his name. Starting September 1st, 2026, that changes. And if the standard of craft behind everything he has already shipped is any indication of what he is capable of leading, Apple might be in better hands than most people currently realize.